doing? This is DamonPryor, known as Basil. Today's date is May 16th, 2004. I'm making this tape in reference to Malachi's York case, the conspiracy to bring him down, the whole plot. I'm not under any drugs or under any alcohol influence of any of those intoxicants. I'm doing this of my own free will. The reason why I'm doing this tape is because I have very important information that would be very helpful, or would have been very helpful, to exonerating Dr. Malachi Z. York of the alleged allegations and charges that have been brought against him. The conspiracy to bring down Dr. York was known by me in 2002. The main axis and the motive behind it was Jacob York's, also known, or is known as, his legal name is Yaqub Muhammad. The conspiracy that involved him and the numerous other ex-members of our community. It goes back, I met Jacob York in the early 90s, late 80s, as a member of the community. As young boys or young teenagers growing up, we had differences, we had likes, we were close with the boys, intermingled, and we basically grew up together. We had the same interests, different things involving that young boys do at a teenager. So, and of course the friendship grew. We hung out, talked, did basic things that young brothers do in our community, or have done in our community. Jacob York, though, he had quite a personality. He was known to be very manipulative. He was known to be very egotistical and demanding, oftentimes leaning on the fact that he is Dr. York's son. And by that I mean it was easier for him to manipulate certain individuals who were loyal followers or students and of Dr. York in our community. So by that, it was easy for him to make his way, or make things happen in his favor in our community. In the mid-90s, Jacob York became very disgruntled, and his hatred grew towards his father for various reasons. One reason, because his music industry, his music career was just launching, and he needed financial backing to launch his various artists, which you may know some as Little Kim, Junior Mafia, Cameron. A lot of those artists early in their career was backed by Jacob York, and he needed financial support in that, and he came to Malachi York for this financial backing. And Dr. York, told him on numerous occasions no, he couldn't do it, simply because of his reputation and his positive influence in the music industry. He was not going to put his life or his name on the line for that negative music that he so often tried to get us away from. Rap porn and gangster rap and drug dealing lyrics and different things that you hear today. Jacob York was involved also with Junior Mafia, they're known drug dealers and hustlers and what you call gangbangers in the circuit of the music industry. And he he strong-armed his way to the forefront of the music industry by using using Dr. York's name. So because of that, and because of his ousting from our community and other reasons, that in his heart he grew this anger and hatred towards Dr. York, and just to justify him doing his own thing. We separated in our paths along life because he was going one direction, I was going another. I was basically, being involved in the community, building our nation, helping to spread the doctrine, and his path was towards his music career, his music goals that he wanted to pursue. But our contact, we stayed in contact. Later in the 90s, he would often describe how, he hated his father. He would refer to him as that man, or ask certain members who he knew were maybe weak or doubtful, and influence them because he would use his son cliche, or I'm his son and I know my father and he's like this or he's like that, persuading loyal people to veer off the path in which they decided by reading the books and knowing who Dr. Malachi York is, and he would use that to gain his fans or his so-called following. And it just grew. His hatred just grew. His anger just grew, and vendetta eventually, I guess, entered his mind on how he could get his father back. For one, his mother passed, and he blames that on Dr. Malachi York. His mother passed in his life, and his brother also passed on, and because of that, a lot of things happened mentally and emotionally for him, and he needed someone to blame. So I guess that fueled the fire of his anger, and he continued on his pursuit to slander Dr. Malachi York, bring Dr. Malachi York now. And all this is moving on to why this big case and this conspiracy, and this, along with the federal government and state prosecution, used him as a central focus on recruiting these ex-members. In 2002, it was October, November, Jacob York and another party asked for a favor. He came to me while I was at work, Metropolitan Avenue. I was working in a barbershop then. He came to me and wanted to meet. So I was skeptical. You know, I haven't seen him in a while, but you know, I decided to give him a chance, see what he wanted. You know, so I told him to meet me at my house in Decatur. Came to my house. It was matter of fact, it was around November because it was around Thanksgiving, and I still had leftover food. So we sat and ate. We talked about sports and various other topics. Jacob York asked me if I could. He had handed me 6 pages of bank statements. He asked me if I could add or forge these bank statements by adding higher deposits on the paper or the bank statements, to have the sum higher than what the original sum was, meaning that add more deposits to his bank transactions that was going on over the last 2 years, in order for his bank statements to appear as though he had higher or more amount of money in the sum, so he can get a loan from the bank to buy another house. And the reasons for buying this other house was because the girls that he said were moving with him were a lot of females that were moving off the land, and he named them Abigail, Atia, Ada, Esther, other females that the conversation went into the South Beach Strip that he was involved with sexually. And Jacob York he confided me certain, his sexual escapades. I guess male to male, it was an ego thing for him to brag about all his sexual endeavors and who he had sex with, who was doing this, who had the best body, who could perform sexually in different areas. So the conversation was, that was discussed, and it was exciting to him that he was able to involve all of these ex-members, mainly females, and brag about the South Beach Strip. And he was bodacious in his financial spendings, brag about how much he spent and what he went down there for, and what rap groups or how much partying they did, how much fun they had. And to him it was a big joke, but it's really not a funny thing to gather ex-members of a community because of personal vendettas and because of anger and petty differences, to conspire to bring such a great man down in this day and time, when you don't have any black leaders today. And it's really sad that this is all taking place. The fact that these people knew, or maybe some of them didn't know. The thing is, rephrase that, a lot of the young females were very naive to the world that Jacob York was introducing them to. They did not have any idea what it was to go out and party and have access to concerts, have access to money and clothing and cars, and be involved in an explicit, sexually free lifestyle, a lot of them had no idea that that was the trap. I mean, offering them those things and saying that this is what, by giving them the glimpse of it by the South Beach trip, it allowed them to say, oh, this is what life is like. This is what it's going to be like once we bring down or get money from Dr. York and sue him for millions of dollars, and we get book deals and go across telling these alleged stories. A lot of them didn't know what they were getting into. They had no idea that the federal government would trap them and put them in a position where they couldn't recant their stories. I mean, these are young girls who, remind you, they haven't experienced a lot of things in life. And the devil's society, they experienced many things in our community where Dr. York tried to create an environment where young people would enjoy themselves in a positive fashion. But Jacob York used his influence to take them into that world, and thus weakened these young people and had them say, okay, we'll go along with the story. They were just ready for anything, not knowing what they were getting into. So the South Beach trip was basically a trap for all of them. Jacob York knew this, and in the back of his mind, he was being used and being on the payroll. And this is the thing that were discussed in the conversation, how he was helping the feds bring down Dr. York. It was going to be a big conspiracy that he was going down, and that he did this and Dr. York did that, and all these alleged allegations. And by no means, he was saying he doesn't need to be here. He doesn't need to be doing out there functioning or basically free. He basically was using them and put them in the forefront. A lot of people don't understand that he used them to do his dirty work, basically. So I told him no. To get back to the story, when we was in the conversation at my house, I told him. Matter of fact, I didn't tell him no then. I told him I'd get back with him. That's how I was able to keep the paperwork. He came back to the house, and I told him no, I couldn't do it, and I still have the papers in my possession. And that is one of the things I wanted to present in court, to show them the motive on why Jacob York decided to, or conjured up these stories with these young females. So a week later, Jacob York contacted me. We met again, and he went on to describe the house and why he needed the house. Again, he reiterated that he needed the house. It had a nice house. It had numerous bedrooms in there. He also mentioned the girls that were moving with him, such as Karima, Arlene Hardington, Esther Cole, and also how these females were a part of the conspiracy. And this is the things that he mentioned, that he definitely needed the house. The reason why he needed the house, or why he came to me with the bank statements, was because I was involved with forgery bank statements before, checks and IDs and different things like that, which I served my time for. I took full responsibility for that, and he knew I was good at those things, and so he confided in me the question of opportunity. He felt as though I would do it, so I told him no. I told him I couldn't do it, but before I told him no, I gathered information on the conspiracy, like who was involved, what girls he had, or which ones he planned on bringing to the house, and he reiterated those facts about the females and moving them off the land, and having them in his so-called nest. And these are the same females he was having sex with, and the same females that were down on the South Beach trip, the same females that made these allegations, and he was the main axis of it. And this is the testimony that it was blocked in Brunswick. I went down there to testify on the behalf of Dr. Malachi York to present the facts, to present the fact that Jacob York conjured up these false allegations, corroborated the stories in order so that they would match, and had everyone in the same boat in order to pull this off, along with the government financing him, which he told me personally that they were backing this. They were backing him financially, backing the plot, and he basically was trying to recruit me. And I told him, he knows better than that. Once he started talking that hate stuff about Dr. Malachi York, I cut him off. It was a done deal, and it was over with, as far as I'm concerned. And it's a really sad thing when you go down to Brunswick and you present the facts to exonerate this man, and then they block your testimony. It was a hurting feeling for me because I knew about the conspiracy months before the raid, and the information that I tried to get to Doc to present him with the conspiracy, to show him that what was getting ready to take place or what was happening, that was being blocked. So we had people conspiring from all angles about the conspiracy, and to this day we, that's why I'm making the tape, to set the record straight, to put the facts out, and to make it known what I witnessed firsthand, what I heard from Jacob York's mouth. And I appreciate your time. And in conclusion, we will get through this, and the facts will be told, and the truth will set him free.